That's hundreds of people who've gathered in the streets of the Jordanian capital Amman to demand revenge for the killing of an Air Force pilot, al-Kasasbeh, at the hands of Islamic State militants, where videos apparently show he was burned to death. This morning, Jordan announced it's executed 2 prisoners, one of them a failed woman suicide bomber, that the government had attempted to exchange for the pilot. Well, let's speak now to Nabila Ramdani, who's a journalist and commentator on the Arab world. Good morning to you, Nabila.
Good morning.
This latest development, the fact that the government have executed prisoners, is, I suppose, not a surprise, really, is it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the first thing to say really is that what happened is an absolutely barbaric act, and forgetting the circumstances of this war which is going on, or the fact that IS is a terrorist group, to actually pour petrol into a cage and set it alight is beyond cruelty. And I really don't think there are adequate words to express, the sense of outrage. And remember, too, that the young man murdered in such barbaric circumstances was a military pilot fighting for his country, and his status was not that of a spy or indeed another terrorist. And as far as he was concerned, he was doing the duty of his country. So the reaction of now the Jordanian government is hardly surprising. The king made it abundantly clear that he was not going to bow down effectively to terrorism. And of course, Jordan will insist that it is fighting fire with fire, and it wants to exterminate the ISIS threat. And it will argue that it has justice and international support for this. And I'm sure Arab countries will be also more determined to wipe out the enemy in that coalition of the willing.
Have IS made a bit of a mistake here? Obviously the killing is utterly barbaric, but they do these things for publicity value and to humble governments that they're fighting. But they'd already humbled the Jordanian government, hadn't they? And there's the huge kind of a feeling against the US coalition in Jordan. Now, by killing this pilot, feeling in Jordan might turn more strongly against IS, might it not, and for the US coalition?
Well, absolutely. But I think what this act is proving beyond doubt is that IS has no claim to fight a legitimate war whatsoever. It is an utterly nihilistic, sadistic cult dedicated to nothing but death and destruction. And personally, I don't think it is linked to Jordan's role in the fight against IS. I think it is linked to one thing, and that is the utterly evil nature of IS. And like sadistic children, they have appeared to have moved on from beheadings and are now concentrating on burning people alive. And I really don't think that it was anything to do with the strategic importance of Jordan. I think it was to do with the vile publicity stunt aimed at getting as much exposure around the world as possible.
What's Jordan's position likely to be now? Because will it change public opinion in the country? Will that make it easier for Jordan to be firmly against IS? Where does this leave the country?
Well, we've heard that the King of Jordan reacting extremely, forcefully to this, of course. And as you said, he's already replied in kind, if you like, by executing and perhaps he'll execute more of IS or Al-Qaeda members in his jails. But I think what Jordan is not going to do is chop the heads off, burn them alive, let alone post videos of the killings online. And that's the difference. And I think the King of Jordan will find an awful lot of support from the USA. Barack Obama has already expressed his shock and indeed the way he's appalled. And they're pledging more financial support to Jordan in the form of $1 billion to help the fight against IS.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us this morning with that analysis. That's Nabila Ramdani, who's a journalist and commentator on the Arab world. We will, of course, be having more reaction to those terrible events coming up through the programme this morning.